Hello! Wayne Roach is my name. And, a very happy Valentine's Day to all of you lovebirds. Today is the day of romance, the day of Wayne Roach reading the 25th chapter of Leviticus. The Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai and commanded him to give the following regulations to the people of Israel. When you enter the land that the Lord has given you, you shall honour the Lord by not cultivating the land every 7th year. You shall plant your fields. No, isn't it too? I don't think it is Valentine's Day today. Maybe it is tomorrow. Prune your vineyards and gather your crops for 6 years. But the 7th year is to be a complete rest for the land, a year dedicated to the Lord. Do not plant your fields or prune your vineyards. Do not even harvest the grain that grows by itself without being planted, and do not gather the grapes from your unpruned vines. It is a year of complete rest for the land. Although the land has not been cultivated during that year, it will provide food for you, your slaves, your hired men, the foreigners living with you, your domestic animals and the wild animals in your fields. Everything that is produced may be eaten. Count 7 times 7 years, a total of 49 years. Then on the 10th day of the 7th month, the day of atonement, send a man to blow a trumpet throughout the old land. In this way you shall set the 50th year apart, and proclaim freedom to all the inhabitants of the land. During this year, all property that has been sold shall be restored to its original owner, or as descendants, and anyone who has been sold as a slave shall return to his family. You shall not plant your field. John! John! Telephone is ringing. John! Bloody piece. Hello? Are you looking for John? Or are you looking for John? John! I'm at my brother's house. Listen. Reading the Bible. I'll have him call you back. Is that alright? Okay, goodbye. During this year, all property that has been sold shall be restored to the original owner's descendants, and anyone who has been sold as a slave shall return to his family. You shall not plant your fields, or harvest the grain that grows by itself, or gather the grapes in your unpruned vineyards. The whole year shall be sacred for you. Oh, peace, this is a long chapter. You shall eat only what the fields produce themselves. In this year, all property that has been sold shall be restored to its original owner. So when you sell land to your fellow Israelite or buy land from him, do not deal unfairly. The price is to be set according to the number of years the land can produce crops for the next year of restoration. If there are many years, the price shall be higher, but if there is only a few years, the price shall be lower, because what is being sold is the number of crops that the land can produce. Do not cheat a fellow Israelite, but have obedient reverence for the Lord your God. Obey the Lord's laws and commands, so that you may live in safety in the land. The land will produce its crops, and you will have all you want to eat, and will live in safety. But someone may ask what there will be to eat during the 7th year, when no fields are planted, no crops gathered. The Lord will bless the land in the 6th year, so that it will produce enough food for 2 years. When you plant your fields in the 8th year, you shall still eat what you harvest during the 6th year. You will have enough to eat until the crops you planted that year is harvested. Your land must not be sold on a permanent basis, because you do not own it. It belongs to God, and you are like foreigners who are allowed to make use of it. When land is sold, the right of the original owner to buy it back must be recognised. If an Israelite becomes poor and is forced to sell his land, but his closest relative is to buy it back, a man that has no relative to buy it back may later become prosperous and have enough to buy it back himself. In that case, he must pay to the man who bought it a sum of money that will make up for the years remaining until the next year of restoration, when he would in any event recover his land. But if he does not have enough money to buy the land back, it remains under the control of the man who bought it until the next year of restoration. In that year it will be returned to its original owner. If a man sells a house in a walled city, he has the right to buy it back during the first full year from the date of sale. But if he does not buy it back within a year, he loses the right of repurchase, and the house becomes permanent property of the purchaser and his descendants, and will not be returned in the year of restoration. But the houses in unwalled villages are to be treated like fields. The original owner has the right to buy them back, and they are to be returned in the year of restoration. However, Levites have the right to buy back at any time their property if the city is assigned to them. If a house in one of these cities is sold by a Levite, it's not brought back. It must be returned. It must be returned in the house of restoration, because the houses which Levites own in the cities are the permanent property among the people of Israel. But the pasture land around the Levite cities shall never be sold. It is their property forever. If a fellow Israelite living near you becomes poor or cannot support himself, you must provide for him as you would for a hired man, so that he can continue to live near you. Do not charge him any interest, but obey God unless your fellow Israelite live near you. Do not make him pay interest on the money you lend him. Do not make a profit on the food you sell him. This is the command of the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt in order to give you the land of Canaan to be your God. If a fellow Israelite living near you becomes so poor that he sells himself to you as a slave, you shall not make him do the work of a slave. He shall stay with you as a hired man and serve you until the next year of restoration. At that time he and his children shall leave you and return to his family and the people of his property of his ancestors. The people of Israel are the Lord's slaves, and he brought them out of Egypt. They must not be sold into slavery. Do not treat them harshly, but obey your God. If you need slaves, you may buy them from the nations around you. You may also buy the children of the foreigners who are living among you. Such children born in your land may become your property, and you may leave as an inheritance to your sons, whom they must serve as long as they live. But you must not treat any of your fellow Israelites harshly. Suppose a foreigner living with you becomes rich, while a fellow Israelite becomes poor and sells himself as a slave, so that to that foreigner, as a member of his family, after he is sold, he still has the right to be brought back, one of his brothers or his uncle or his cousin or another of his close relatives may buy him back, or if he himself earns enough, he may buy his own freedom. He must consult the one who bought him, and they must count the years at the time he sold himself into the next year of restoration, must set the price for his release on the basis of the wages paid. A hired man, he must refund part of the purchase price according to the number of years left, and if he has been hired as an annual basis, his master must not treat him harshly. If he is not set free in any of these ways, he and his children must be set free in the next year of restoration. An Israelite cannot be a permanent slave, because the people of Israel are the Lord's slaves. He brought them out of Egypt. He is the Lord their God. That is chapter 25. I'm glad we read it